This is the bonus section podcast, episode number 31. What is at the root of our comfort zone and its limitations? Are you the type of person that knows that you are meant for something greater in this lifetime and that somewhere inside of you there's just this bigger version trying to break through, but in spite of all your self-development attempts, you just can't seem to find the way up? Well then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the bonus section and the host of this podcast, and a person just like you trying to learn how to live the most fulfilling life possible. Now, to help you take immediate action to get moving in a better direction, we take all the notes from each episode and we post them at freethinkingtools.com. Now, we don't leave them up there for a long period of time because it'd just be too confusing and too much, and what we want is action. The whole endeavor here is to serve you, to be of service to you, to help you to think and to take action, to try to come up with a better strategy for your life. If that helps you get what you want, then I'm really happy, okay? So the question on the table is, what is at the root of our comfort zone and its limitations? So speaking of which, right, why are we stuck? Why don't we have more of what we want? And why do we hear about this comfort zone and what the heck is it? So that's the first point here. A comfort zone occurs when we understand cause and effect. Let me explain that, right? First of all, let me also say that the term comfort zone, in my mind's eye, seems to have been demonized. Oh, you're comfortable. Oh, you got so comfortable and you're not growing. I've always heard it as a negative thing. Don't get stuck in your comfort zone. Well, why not? Sounds like a pretty good place to be, doesn't it? Right? Because the animal brain wants to be comfortable. So it can't be something that's completely demonized if we think that we will, as an animal brain, do at least the bare minimum to survive, right? It's a survival of the fittest thing. We are going to do the basics that it takes to survive, to find shelter, to find food, to find water, to go through the basic body movements of life. We're going to do that. And when we find some sort of a systematic way, whether we're conscious of it or not, on how to do that, we're going to continue it because it's comfortable to survive, right? So there's the bare minimum. The problem arises to the extent that we want more, though. There's something else in the human condition. We're not animals, so we don't just think about that. So the comfort zone becomes even something that we can conceptualize and talk about versus an animal. I shouldn't say that. I can't speak for the animal kingdom. But I can say this, is that we can conceptualize it as humans, and we can talk about it because we recognize it as a thing. Oh, well, he just sits on his couch all day long and he eats Oreo cookies. Okay, well, does he survive? Does he get through the day? Is he dying because he's exposed to the weather? Is he dying from starvation? So there's nothing wrong with that comfort zone when you consider there are people that don't. They're homeless. They're shelterless. There's nowhere to go. And they're starving to death. I mean, that happens in this very modern world we live in every day. But yet we take it for example. Some people would love to just be comfortable enough to survive if they could only be resourceful enough to find a way to get in a comfortable rhythm. But really, this podcast was intended to talk a little bit deeper, I guess is the way to say it, or more to the brain that wants to thrive. When you look in the mirror, it's that sinking feeling that you know you could be so much more, or you want to be so much more. And I'm not talking about relative to anybody else. You just know. It's that internal dialogue. It's that self-dialogue. It's that self-image thing that you're looking in the mirror and you're disappointed with where you're at. And you recognize that you've gotten comfortable with surviving. And so we have to look at, well, first of all, let's go back to how did we cause an effect? And it's sort of the scientific approach that I just became aware of listening to this audiobook. It's not just became aware of it, became a conscious thing as relates to the comfort zone. There are things that we do that cause an effect. And so in business, it was very easy. I was just giving an example in a business context where there are certain things that I might do to get leads, for example. I might do certain things to convert those leads, and there's an effect on my business revenue. Is it the right revenue? Is it the right repetitive client? Is it the right margin? See what I mean? It's cause and effect. So what if you are, again, let's go outside this context. What if I just finished watching a mixed martial arts fight. It was tremendous. One of the best pound for pound fighters ever. and he retired in the center of the ring at the end, and it was very emotional. And when I thought about all the cause and effect, right? There were things that he caused in his life because of his religious context. He had a belief system that he programmed himself through that cause. And the effect was, at the very end, incredible respect. Had nothing to do with religion, by the way. Nothing. It was just the way that he had gone through a lifestyle of pursuing this belief system encompassed in this religion, and that he had really been that person authentically in, ironically, a mixed martial arts world where you're supposed to be respectful of everything that goes out there. There weren't, I can tell you the times where he broke, but then he brought himself right back to that belief system. And the effect was, he will go down as not only one of the best fighters, but the most respected humans. That's an effect. So there are a lot of things that help us to get to that point. And so I could even make a case that he was comfortable in there. And when it was over, it was over. Complicated set of circumstances. He lost his father, who had been his coach. His mother asked him to stop doing it. And again, going back to this cause, this religious base, this belief base, his effect was to respect that. Wow, I just get the chills just thinking about how powerful it can be when you're in there. But what about those that work so hard and their effect is that they can ascend to a level like that, okay? And they get comfortable. Even top producers or top performers like that, they get comfortable. You know what it is? They forget how they got to the comfortable place as a top producer, a top performer in the first place. They forgot. Because they don't go back and reconnect to the basics, the hunger, the fight. And it's not easy to do, by the way. If your animal brain is scared, and you see that if you will just cause yourself to train harder, to spend more hours, to make more distinctions, the effect is you become a champion. But we know full well that maintaining a championship is difficult because the person you are now as that champion, by definition, is totally different. You have to now go back to the gym as if that doesn't exist. Woo-wee, that is tough. But it is those people, right? I don't know if that's proper English, but I'm close. Like this top fighter, Khabib is his name. He was able somehow to go back to the gym and to behave like that and to be humble in that moment as if none of this would happen. And he would always give praise to God at the end of this. And it wasn't in a gratuitous, patronizing way. It was authentic. I mean, when I tell you, you know the difference between somebody who's authentic about how they feel spiritually and those that are just trying to say it to put on a face, you know. But what's more incredible is how he was able to maintain a 13-0 UFC record and 3 title defenses. How does that happen? Because he's able to go back outside of the championship comfort zone and all its spoils and go back and be humble and just be who he was, because he's able to scientifically understand it better. I'm not even going to give Khabib credit for being able to fully articulate this. I don't know that he could. I think he could come pretty close, because the humility to realize that championship is just a moment in time. It has nothing to do with how we continue to thrive. But yet he goes back and he repeats this process. And the crazy thing is, it just keeps elevating him and elevating him and elevating him until he's now probably going to be known as one of the pound for pound best fighters. And again, I know if you're not a fight fan, maybe I lost you, but I hope I didn't lose you in the analogy, because it can be applied to anything. It can be applied to business. It can be applied to being a student. I mean, if you got straight A's this semester because you wanted to get into the college of your choice, and now you're getting closer to the deadline for the application, did you let up? Or are you going to finish that senior year, that junior year, and you're going to go back every night to those behavior patterns that kept you there? Because remember, you're going to arrive in college, and what do you want to do? You want to atrophy your last semester? You want to atrophy the last year, the senior year off thing? Why? So that you arrive at freshman year and you get smoked and you wonder what happened? Oh, college is so much harder. No, it's not. You got comfortable and you stopped repeating the things that got you there in the first place. So that's where that negative connotation comes in. Because you see, we never lose the burden of having to survive. And even if you're a trust funder, right? You have a big boatload of money. Look at the importance of that moment is now you have to become a money manager. You should be studying money management. You should be comfortable in that money. What do you think? Money is going to guarantee you that you're going to have some sort of a fulfilled life because money is solved? And you don't even understand how it was achieved because you didn't study that. You don't understand who's managing it for you. You don't understand what they're doing for it. Now you wonder whether they're taking advantage of you. See what I'm saying? There are a lot of things that can get us into this zone of comfort. I think that if you just go back to the battle to get to the next level, what a game worth playing. And it's not a battle. It's not always blood, sweat, and tears. It could be an intellectual pursuit just to get up and say, okay, I've inherited a lot of money. With that comes a lot of responsibility. And what could I do? What cause and effect could I make in the world? Could I go out and start, a fabulous nonprofit that benefits a part of the world that I believe in? And that I think needs, to get 10 fingers, that they, the money that I add that could finance something to get somebody an opportunity who definitely doesn't have one. Now you're talking. So a comfortable zone, there's nothing wrong with it to be able to get into it, but you have to recognize what it is. It has limitations if you just fall into it like a big soft squishy couch or a pillow that you can't get out of. If you get in there, the question is, are you happy in there? Are you really happy sinking down in there and not being a part of the world, not being able to look in the mirror and say, I'm growing, I'm self-fulfilling? See, that's where comfort zone takes on a potentially dangerous connotation. We want to thrive to get comfortable as an animal, but when you get there, your thriving brain, it needs to be fed. You need to thrive. You go downright crazy in isolation in that comfortable zone, or you pull up the sides and get all weirdly conservative and you don't even communicate with people, right? So I guess the thing is, I'm provoking you to think in any of these contexts because my next point is the law of commitment at play here? See, there's an interesting thing about the law of commitment. It means we will only look for corroborating evidence to substantiate the comfortable place we're in. And we won't challenge ourselves in whatever sort of context we might be in. It's the law of corroborating evidence. I see it in business all the time as a coach. A lot of people will have worked their tail off to get to a certain point, and they'll get to a business that has X number of millions of dollars and X number of expenses, and they're just making sort of the same living over and over and over again. And they're only looking for stuff that corroborates the way they're doing things. The only cause and effect that they seek out is the one that they understand. Well, if I do this and I get this, and she calls this and I get that. And they stay there. Nothing grows. And I can't remember what book it was in. I want to say it was Maxwell Maltz's Psycho-Cybernetics, Mind Steering Systems is what that means. He referred to a guy by the name of Lecky, I believe. And I can't remember exactly who said it, but we're either contracting or expanding. So the minute you get comfortable, I can make a case that you're contracting. Because you're comfortable, you relax, shoulders come down, mind's not as sharp, you're relaxed. And there's plenty of moments where that matters. You buy that new house, you walk in and you sit down on a couch, and all of a sudden you feel safe. You feel proud that you were able to save enough money, that you reinvested in your business and you can buy that house, and your family never had one and everybody has their own room. If that's important to you, fabulous, wonderful. I think it's great. But the minute now you're in there, you can't stay comfortable. You have to continue to go out there. You can't say, well, I made it, and you're only looking for corroborating evidence to maintain it, and you don't even see the shadow coming of the recession. You don't even see the layoff that could have been because you just sat back too far. You lost the animal instinct, the hunger. There's more comfort, by the way. There's more. And you know, one of the best comfort zones to be in is to know that you can look in the mirror and say, I am a resourceful person who, regardless of the circumstances, knows how to constantly be growing. And I have fun with that. It's not burdensome to me. It's comfortable in the way that I grow. I don't get stagnant comfort. I get growth comfort. That's a real thing. To be in that state, doing these podcasts, I feel like I'm growing. I feel like I'm sharing. I feel like I'm putting myself out there. I don't have to do them. They don't even monetize. Today as I'm sitting here, this is 5 out of 6 in one sitting. And I do it because I need that growth. I need to look in the mirror and say, I was fully of service today. I really went all in. So if it's for nobody else but you, as you look in the mirror, especially when you're of service, you're stretching. You're not saying, oh, well, business is good and, I did enough and I'm going to take a break and don't worry about that. We won't post, any episodes. And, that's the law of commitment. I'm committed to only what I've done so far. I'm committed to what's comfortable. What's wrong with being uncomfortable? What's wrong with that? Why is that negative? Right? And what's wrong with being comfortable? Because this weird dilemma. You keep going, get a little comfortable, enjoy it. Then go back to work and uncomfortable. Stretch yourself, stretch your brain, right? I think it's this contraction and expansion and contraction and expansion game that I think if we're playing both sides of this game, there seems to be an evolution. We seem to be evolving as a human. Even as we get older and physically and mentally, we might slow. We get wiser. We see these, these new insights. Are we sharing them with somebody younger? Are we passing them along? What a game worth playing. So I guess the point of the law of commitment, bringing that up, was don't get committed to only what you know, only this cause and effect that you see, that you worked hard to get to, but now you're putting the fence up to protect it. That's actually a harder game. I think you sweat more in that zone, and you're only looking for what corroborates what you know. See, maybe this is just a matter of always be learning, ABL, like I like to say, always be learning. At least in that context, you can see change coming and you can at least adapt. And that adaptation is growing you and taking you out of what's comfortable so that you can survive the next wave of a challenge. All right. The next thing is to dig a little bit deeper and to always be aggressively seeking to find and consider new cause and effect to maintain improvement is what studying is all about, is what learning is all about. Be a lifelong learner. That's the point. And I think that's how you stay out of the dangerous comfort zone. That's how you maintain that base hunger, is that to sit there and intellectually consider, what don't I know? There's a lot. I mean, it will go on forever. I can't believe how quickly people in business will put up the sides. Oh, yeah, I already know that. Yeah, I already know that. What? You already know what? There's so many variables in business. There's so many variables in sports. There's so many variables in school. Everything's always constantly changing. Stop saying things like, I already know that. Instead, wake up and say, I can't wait, like a childlike curiosity. I can't wait to learn what I don't know. Oh my gosh, that was so good. And then to give the person that taught you that, that opened your eyes to that, then maybe you made a new distinction. You bring it back to them and everybody gets excited like a bunch of little goofy nerds in the library discovering something. What is wrong with that? Nothing. It's exciting and I enjoy doing it with you right here. So let me go back and summarize this. What is at the root of our comfort zone and its limitations? What's at the root of it? Well, first of all, we have to say a comfort zone occurs when we understand the cause and effect, okay? Meaning we get comfortable because, we see that this thing causes this effect and we keep repeating it and that's all we do, right? So the question is though, well, wait a minute. How do we get to the comfort zone in the first place? Well, we tapped into our animal brain. We got scared maybe that we needed to get there. We needed to figure some things out. So we started off curious, hungry, aggressive. But then once we got in that comfort zone, the third point is the law of commitment came into play. We only looked at what corroborates sustaining that. We forget that hunger. We forget that old version of ourselves. And now we start to build a wall. So the way out is to always be aggressively seeking to find and consider new causes and effects, not just what got us there, but what else is new? What else could we do to maintain improvement And better yet, grow. All right, I'll summarize it this way. In the body of work we've come to know as self-development, we are often confronted with the concept of falling into our comfort zone, which can take on a negative connotation and become a self-defeating limitation. However, if we consider the work we did to find our current zone and learn that it came from seeking and learning new causes and effects, then we can turn that process into an asset for constant and never-ending improvement. Hey, remember, you can take immediate action to get moving in a better direction because we take all the notes from each episode and we post them for a brief time, a couple episodes at a time, over at freethinkingtools.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen so that you don't miss out on any insights each time we upload an episode. We also post all of our episodes on our social media channels, so remember to turn on your notifications for the bonus section and you won't miss the reminders. We'd also appreciate it if you would share our content with other people just like you so they get the help that they need and you can join our mission of becoming a person for others. Hey, thanks for listening, but remember this, nobody is coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on yourself and a plan for the life that you really want. And we will see you in the next episode.